Can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to do. When by any means, only thing that makes sense to me, I can make nice or make history. I got that dog in me, yeah, turn me up. Big energy, got the crowd going nuts. I got that dog in me, yeah. I take on anyone, I don't need a one-on-one. I got that dog in me, yeah. I'm talking all bite, no bark. I could rip your squad apart. I got that dog in me, so what's up? Yeah, so what's up?
And welcome to Shots from the Sidelines. Snow couldn't even stop Seth today. How you doing, buddy?
Sir, I'm about, half a mile away?
A whole half a mile away, and your mic is stopping you right now.
How about now? Am I better?
There it is. There you
Sweet. Yeah, I made the long track across the highway.
Yeah,
the snow wasn't going to stop me tonight.
No, not at all.
Got to talk about these playoff games, man.
You do. We do. We have to talk about that. Of course, the national championship game. We're going to be talking about the NFL coaching carousel that's been going on. Some interesting things. First off, hope everyone is doing all right. If you're in the Southeast, hopefully you're bundled up. It's unusual.
It's been rough.
Yeah, no, it's basically the apocalypse. Even if we get like 1 inch of snow, it's like stuff just grinds to a halt. I've been off for 2 days now, bored off my mind. My PS5 and me have been having a torrid affair.
I've been intimate the last couple of days.
Yes, it's like, in fact, I'm starting to get a layout of this room a little too much. So, but anyway.
I've just been watching all old football games, just going back to the 90s.
Going to ESPN Classic or something like that?
Something like that.
All right. So, of course, we had Ohio State, OHIO, win their 9th national championship this past Monday. Was it Monday or?
Yeah, Monday.
Monday. God, why don't they just move the game to Saturday? Like, have every other game like.
Yeah, they just won't compete with NFL. They're not going to share views with the
playoffs.
NFL.
Yeah. So anyway, Ohio State earned its 9th national title. The game, in my opinion, was not as close as what that score showed. It was just basically a blitzkrieg from the point. First, Notre Dame scored on the first drive. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
18 plays, took up most of the first quarter. I was like, oh, they did score first. And then I went over to my friend's house, Coach DeMurph, shout out, Code 4 Sports. Went over to his house. He's a big Notre Dame fan. And then it was just on after that. Ohio State, 31 unanswered points. What's your thoughts?
First of all, I'm sorry, Murph. That's probably
– It was rough.
That's probably tough, watching your team make it that far. And they had a great season, phenomenal playoff run. But, going into this game, I don't think anybody really gave Notre Dame a chance. I mean, you just saw the firepower difference between Ohio State and Notre Dame. I saw no way, unless Ohio State turned it over 4 or 5 times, how Notre Dame was going to win this game. And like you said, it could have been a lot worse. I think they just kind of sat on the ball in the second half. They knew Notre Dame didn't have enough firepower to catch up. So I don't really feel like they tried to do too much in the second half. But, credit Notre Dame for coming back. When I turned it off at halftime, it was 28-7. So at least they made a little bit of effort in the second half. But it's maybe it's 31-7.
No, it was 21. It was 21-7 because they scored 10 points like at the very beginning of the third quarter.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it just appeared like Ohio State took it to a whole nother level after that Michigan game. And the run they went on, just dominating Tennessee, dominating Oregon. Texas gave them a little bit of a game, but they still won comfortably. And Texas is an immensely talented team. So, just props to Ohio State. I'm not a fan of Ohio State, but, they did everything they had to do in these playoffs, and they're just so talented, just across the board. Will Howard, I thought he was kind of a glorified game manager when he came in, but he really started playing well in his playoffs. So, they just didn't have a weakness. I just didn't see a weakness in them.
And, well, it's crazy because like you said, you're not crazy about Ohio State, and most people that are in the area that we live are not crazy about Ohio State unless they're from Ohio.
Right. And there's a lot of those people here.
Yeah, my wife is from Ohio, but she does not like
Yeah.
Ohio State. She likes Michigan. So it's just, you look at what was going on, and I thought it would be a lot closer than it was, but Jeremiah Love didn't even hardly touch the ball. It looked like he was going to be playing because there was a lot of, they were talking about, he's been upgraded to this and he's ready to play and all that, took the brace off and all that, looked good in practices, but I don't think it was 100% because he only touched the ball, I think four rushes and then a catch and
3 yards rushing.
I mean, that was their number one offensive option outside of Riley Leonard, who also, I mean, you look at the rushing yards, Ohio State had 4 times as much rushing yards as Notre Dame, 214 to 53. And, you look at how that rushing game was, it was really Leonard, Price, and Love, and it just couldn't get off the ground. And like you said earlier, they just don't have the firepower. And it was something you saw. The only way that I saw Notre Dame winning that game is by just punching them in the face with the run game from start to finish, because once Ohio State was going to get ahead and they got ahead, it didn't look like it was pretty much a no contest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the worst national title game. I would still give that to Georgia TCU a few years ago, but it wasn't compelling at all. Notre Dame, they've got to go out and get some big time playmakers. I mean, Greathouse had a good second half. I think he finished with like over 100 yards receiving. But overall, when you're going up against people like Jeremiah Smith, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, I mean, Notre Dame they couldn't keep up. Nobody could. I mean, look at Oregon, the firepower they have, and they couldn't keep up.
Yeah, that's pretty much if you really think about it, that'd be like an NFL expansion team in some ways.
I mean, I'm still racking my brain at how Michigan was able to control this offense as well as they did. There were a couple turnovers, but that's an amazing job by the Michigan defensive coordinator, because this Ohio State team, they're a handful.
And then I believe the Notre Dame defensive coordinator, he just left.
That's right. Al Grove just went back to the pros, didn't he?
Yep. Yes, he did. I can't remember exactly what team did he go to?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember. It wasn't the Bears, was it?
No. We only got an offensive coordinator, and we will segue into that in a second. So, question: as far as these two teams go, where do you see them going for here on out? Like, what's going to happen next year?
Well, I mean, for Ohio State, they're going to have to find another quarterback, but I'm sure they have talented guys, waiting in the pipeline. I think Notre Dame, they're going to go out and spend some money on some big-time wide receivers because running game, they're fine, even though Love didn't have a good game in this game. But they've got to get some guys on the outside, some guys. I'm not saying you're going to find a Jeremiah Smith out there, but you got to get some guys that can take it to the house, against great competition, and they just didn't have that. So I think both of these teams are set up, obviously, to make a run every single year. Ohio State is always going to be a perennial contender, and Notre Dame, based on their schedule, I feel like they're always going to have a great shot at the playoffs. So,
the Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep. Thank you. That's right, because their defensive coordinator went to the Colts, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I don't understand why the Colts would hire that. It wasn't like they stopped anybody. So, I mean, I don't know. But talking about some of the coaches, there have been 3 head coaches that have been hired in the NFL coaching carousel. And if you want, I gave it a grade on each one that I saw, and we could talk a little bit about each one. And then also afterwards, there are still 4 head coaching vacancies in the NFL right now. I'll give you a list of some of the more notable, I guess, interviewees and see if we can actually predict like who would actually go there.
Is Eddie George one of those?
Eddie George is no longer one of those, which was kind of surprising for me. But seeing that you brought up old Mr. Heisman himself, let's talk about the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. I actually gave this a B. I've cooled off a little bit because of some of the stuff that I saw, like in this playoff loss against the Washington Commanders, and then other weird ass plays that he's pulled, like a reason for he tried to get his left tackle Penei Sewell to throw a pass, which I was like, you're going to get him hurt. If he doesn't do that, I like what he can bring to the table, especially with the fact that he was able to make Jared Goff a household name, which everyone, when he first went to Detroit, everyone kind of said, okay, well, his career's dead. But Ben Johnson was able to resurrect it. I think he would be great for Caleb Williams, a lot better than Eberflus was. What's your ideas on him? I gave it a B.
You're always modest when it comes to your own teams. I feel like you always do this with the Bears and Bama.
I was right about Bama, though.
I mean, I think it's probably if any of these hires are slam dunk, I think this is probably the closest just because of what this guy has done the last 3 years or so. I know last year he passed up a couple jobs. I think Carolina, the Falcons being two of them, because he just didn't like, the situation
Washington.
For whatever reason. But, the fact that this guy had 4 different players go over 1,000 scrimmage yards this season, only the second time ever that's been done in the league. That says a lot about, just the kind of diverse offense he runs. Now, I mean, you can nitpick the trick plays, a lot of the stuff he did that was a little too cute and really kind of turned the game, that interception by Jameson Williams. So that kind of stuff, I think he just needs to kind of scrap that, just
every now and then. Yeah, I see it, but
it's fine if you're in a regular season game, you're already up by 21 points.
But you're getting curb stomped at that point.
Yeah, it's just not necessary. Like you're already just gashing that Washington defense. It just wasn't necessary. I mean, I think Caleb Williams is a great talent to mold. And like you said, he's going to be a lot better for his game than Eberflus. I think it's a great hire. I mean, I do feel like he's got to improve that offensive line. That's the big thing they've got to do this offseason. I like the wide receivers. Obviously, Keenan Allen doesn't have a lot of time left, but, Dunze, DJ Moore. So you've got pieces. I don't know if Swift is coming back next year or not, but that's one position you could probably upgrade at. But you're still in a pretty good spot there between him and Johnson. It's not like you are, the cupboard's bare.
No. I mean, you got some nice pieces and everything, and then there's a rumor that they're going to try to bring in Dennis Allen to be the defensive coordinator, which I would love that.
Yeah.
And
that'd be a great move.
Yeah,
and the defense has talent too. I mean, there's a lot of good young players on that defense.
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's where we invested.
Yeah,
that's where Eberflus went most of the time.
Yeah, I just feel like the offensive genius type coaches have had more luck lately. Your Sean McVays, O'Connell with the Vikings. I just feel like this is the safest route to go these days. Not that you can't still make it with a great defensive coordinator becoming a head coach, but I just feel like this is kind of the trend right now, the young offensive genius type coaches.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said earlier, as far as Keenan Allen's concerned, I don't think he's going to be coming back. He's getting up there.
He's a free agent, isn't he?
He will be a free agent this coming off season, and I know that he said that he would like to stay in Chicago or go back to the Chargers, but even though he still has good hands and everything, he was not really a true major factor other than when he caught touchdowns.
Yeah, he did have 7-8 touchdown catches.
Yeah, I believe he led the team with
yeah, I mean, he's obviously lost a step, but he was never a Blazer in the first place. But yeah, it's probably time to move on. I mean, the rest of the team is pretty young, so it really doesn't make a lot of sense to keep that guy around. Yeah, especially if he wants much money. I'm definitely not keeping him around.
No. You're going to get third chart money. So also, besides the Lions losing Ben Johnson, and we can revisit that question, they also lost Aaron Glenn. Their defensive coordinator went to the Jets. This will make the third defensive-minded coach that the New York Jets have started up, and we got a question in a minute. But,
did Aaron Glenn still have tire marks on him at the press conference? that dude just
had to probably have him checked out.
Man, he probably doesn't know what hit him last weekend. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Oh, you're good. No, actually, Justin, Lions fan,
hey, Justin,
said that, hey, great show so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
As a Lions fans, rivalry aside, congrats on the hire. I'm happy to see Dan Campbell's coaching spreading through the league. You guys got yourself a good one. Take care of him. I hope we do. I hope we do, because you're a Lions fan. You probably understand this as much as I do. It's been a long ass time. So congratulations. Your season didn't end the way that I want it. Justin, you're a lot cooler than most other people I've interacted with lately, but thank you, sir.
Well,
Kind words.
I thought it was kind of strange for Campbell to come out the other day and make the statement that he didn't think that their window was closed. I was like, why does he even need to make that statement? I mean, the Lions are young, immensely talented. A lot of their core players are under contract for the next several years. So obviously their window is not even close to being closed. But it'll be interesting who Campbell replaces those guys with, because he obviously had a great situation with those two offensive and defensive coordinators.
And it was one of those situations that you just kind of like, oof, because the last time we seen both coordinators leave a team like this, the Philadelphia Eagles, when they went on that Super Bowl run, although I don't think that they'll have as much trouble with it because they got pretty much everyone locked up.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they're in a great spot. I mean, as far as, cap contracts, just youth in all the right places. I mean, we've talked about how their drafting has been amazing the last several years. I mean, they just have so many good young players, like second and third year players. It's ridiculous.
There's Damien.
Oh,
I was waiting for
he's not a Lions fan, apparently.
No, he's a Bears fan. So going back to Aaron Glenn, third defensive coordinator that has been hired by the New York Jets. Of course, Ulbrich was one that was an interim in between Staley and now Aaron Glenn.
Well, the last couple have turned out so well. You might as well
exactly just continue on with the trend. I really expect them to go with someone that was an offensive line coach. I have this as a B-. I'm not too thrilled about it, but at the same time, Aaron Glenn, what he was able to do towards the end of the season with the Detroit Lions defense, he was able to actually still rally them, even though they lost touch, even though they lost so many key players, McNeil, Carlton,
Anzalone for a long time.
Exactly. I mean, they still played really well. And, I think that was really, other than what happened in the playoffs, I think that had a lot to do with him being hired onto this staff.
Yeah, his overall body of work. I mean, there's nothing you can really argue against. That last game was not a good look, but it happens sometimes to all great coaches, even great defensive coordinators. But I kind of like the fit, even though I would have liked the offensive guy. He's going to a team that has some really good secondary players, and he likes to blitz a ton.
Yes,
so hopefully that'll be a good fit, where those guys can actually hold up on the back end. I still feel like even though the Lions improved, their defensive backfield wasn't, near elite level. So the blitzing really burned them against the Commanders the other day when Jaden Daniels was just super accurate. It's like he just couldn't miss. So yeah, I think your B- is a good call. I mean, I definitely wouldn't give it over a B, but
what was your grade on Ben Johnson?
I would probably say A-.
There you go.
I feel good about Ben Johnson. And I think Glenn will do good too, but the last couple of defense coordinators they hired on with the Jets, it didn't turn out so well. So, they're going to have to figure out Aaron Rodgers and the quarterback situation. I mean, for me, I wouldn't even think about bringing him back.
I think it's already been figured out.
I mean, there's not, there's not a whole lot out there unless you're willing to trade up, which you'd have to give up a ton of assets. So they're kind of in a pickle when it comes to the quarterback position. I mean, you could go out, I guess, and bring in like a Russell Wilson, type guy, but there's not a whole lot. Oh, Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's still out there, and he is actually on one of the teams that we'll be talking about later. I like that.
I would have liked that.
Yeah, no, I think he already coached there before.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, back in the 90s. So
wow,
I mean,
God, like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, I mean, were we teenagers?
Yeah,
oh, shit.
Damn.
All right, so the one hire that I absolutely love, and you mommy probably do not love it as much as I do, but Mike Vrabel back with New England. It's like Daddy rang the dinner bell, and he just came running back home. He's already got both of his coordinators. One, which you'll hear me go off on every now and then. It's the name that we do not speak of. And they also got their defensive coordinator. I'm trying to think of his name off the top of my head. I think it's Darrell Thomas or something like that.
I can't remember who it was. Was it another Belichick protege? Or?
I don't think so. I know that the first one, Josh McDaniels, that dick is he's the is it like the quickie mark? I mean, this is the third time he's been there.
I was gonna say, isn't there a limit? How
Yeah.
many times
I
you can come back?
mean, come on, dude.
Terrell Williams is
Terrell Williams.
No, wait. Yeah, Terrell Williams is the new defensive coordinator
I'm trying to figure out where he's from
the Lions. He was a defensive line coach.
Oh. Well, that's right up Variable's alley then. I mean,
Yeah.
Variable was, of course, a linebacker back in the golden years of
Belichick days.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really do like the hire. Variable was, in my opinion, someone that should not have been fired when he was at Tennessee. This is an A hire for me. And, you know, the whole thing with what happened with Jared Mayo is still kind of like fishy. But at the same time, I think I know why. Because this was a guy that was already high on Robert Kraft's list when he left to go coach the Titans.
Yeah. I mean, my question is, why didn't they just hire him last year? You know, like, was there some kind of handshake deal that Belichick said you're going to promote?
I think it was. I think it was written in the contract because he was originally one of the people that they were talking to about possibly going there. So I think it was a wink, wink. You're bringing in this guy. So
yeah, it's like they just can't pull the Band-Aid completely with the Belichick connection. I mean, I think Variable's a good hire too. I'd probably say a B+. I thought he did a really good job with the Titans the majority of the 6 years he was there. I think he finished about 10 games over 500 for those 6 years. And of course, the last 2 years was just a complete disaster at quarterback, which kind of brought that, you know, the record down for him those last couple of years. But they made the playoffs twice. And I didn't feel like the Titans had that much talent when he was there other than Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought he did a really solid job there. Josh McDaniels, you know, he has a good track record as an OC, just not as a head coach. I don't know how many times you can just keep going back to that well, you know, like, isn't it time for some new blood at some point?
Just try something different. I mean, I understand Josh McDaniels is a good offensive coordinator. I would say great offensive coordinator, but some parts of me wonder if it was really Tom Brady that carried his ass or anybody or something, because each time he had a chance to go somewhere else, he completely just scorched earth those franchises. And, you know, and I was really surprised the Raiders actually hired him after what he did to the Broncos. It was like, you know, you beat him like 4 times in the 2.5 years he was there. Why would you want that? But yeah, Damien already chimed in on Josh McDaniels, and I agree with this. Josh McDaniels has more chances than a crackhead. Yeah.
It's funny, the fraternity, you know, these guys are in, like, once they get established, it's like they just keep recycling them over and over. And
the Belichick tree is not that good. There's only one coach that has a positive record, and it was Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
I mean,
they just bring Patricia back too. You know, get the whole band back together.
Oh God. That would be comedy for me.
I know Lions fans love that name.
I mean, how bad is it whenever you're a defensive coordinator and you're turned into an offensive coordinator? Because Belichick doesn't want you to coach the defense. Justin hit us up with another question. This is something that's pretty cool. And Dan Cable, I trust the Lions will be fine. No, I agree. And this division is probably one of the strongest. I would say either the NFC North or AFC West are the 2 strongest divisions.
Yeah.
Curious to see what you guys both think the Bears and Lions will take in the first draft this year, barring where they stay where they are. No, I'm good with that because me personally, the Bears will probably go with, and I'm going to be doing some mock drafts later, probably figuring it out. If you want to join me one day, we can hash one out where we can look at it. But Will Campbell from LSU. Offensive tackle, but they're saying that his arms are real short, so they were talking about possibly moving him into guard position, which is the biggest problem that we had last year. The pocket that we had, as far as Caleb Williams is concerned, was getting pushed in more than Josh McDaniels and a crackhead. But, you know, as far as that goes, I think that they will actually go with an offensive guard. And I don't have all the information because I'm only up to about 15 players right now as far as who I think is going where. But if I was the Lions, I would definitely look into getting another pass rusher or potentially another defensive tackle. Maybe someone like Nolan from Ole Miss, big body that can actually
Walter Nolan.
And just, you know, clog up the middle, man. Have your linebackers run freely or anything like that. You got more than enough playmakers on offense. You need to go ahead and get that defense up.
Yeah, definitely. Either that or another corner. I mean, I think like James Pierce, from Tennessee would be a great pass rusher, kind of a hybrid linebacker, defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think defense is obviously where the Lions have to go.
And Damon actually went the free agent route. Trey Smith from the Chiefs. I actually do like that. I like that a lot.
Another ex-Ball.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say he's a Vols fan. So
yeah, Trey Smith. I mean, as far as free agent offensive guards, he's probably the top one. And I've loved him with the Chiefs. He's just a road grader.
No,
I don't think he'll demand huge money either.
No. Well,
he's a guard.
He probably would if guards get no respect. All right, so four teams are still looking for head coaches and everything like that. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. The first one of which that we'll talk about is the Dallas Cowboys. It makes sense. I mean, go ahead. I mean, if you're on your phone and looking at this, I'm apologizing. It is very, very small print, but I will just go ahead and tell you they haven't really interviewed much. Leslie Frazier, Kellen Moore, Robert Sahi, and Brian Schottenheimer. Now, I think this is already a foregone conclusion, and out of this four, who he would hire. But I want to get your thoughts first. Who are you thinking?
I mean, I don't know if I love any of those names, but I mean, it seems like the buzz has all been about Schottenheimer the last couple of days, just promoting him to head coach, which sounds like a Jerry Jones type thing. Just seems like somebody that he, would pick, kind of the under the radar guy already in the house, not demand a lot of money and control. So that seems what will happen. I would have liked to have seen Kellen Moore get a little more run. Yeah. But it doesn't seem like it's heading that direction.
And you're probably right on that. I did choose Kellen Moore as the person I would think that the Cowboys would go, but Brian Schottenheimer, he already has the players. He already has that system in place. Kellen Moore would, I wouldn't say complicate things. In fact, when he was their head coach, why didn't they just keep him there? But that was a McCarthy thing, fired him, sent him back into the Chargers, and then we saw what happened with that. So
yeah, I think he's done a great job with the Eagles. But what happened to all of the Deion Sanders buzz? I mean, did he even get an interview?
No. Those are the only four that have been interviewed, and Brian Schottenheimer is being requested for a second one.
Yeah, I mean, I heard they only did a phone interview with Kellen Moore, which I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not, but that's not a good sign if you only got a phone interview.
Yeah, and Curious Sports said, why won't Jerry give us what we wanted? Because you brought this up. The prime time experience in Dallas, I wanted to show.
Unless Deion just said thanks, but no thanks at this point, I'm good where I'm at. I can't imagine them not at least giving him a formal interview. But yeah, I mean, Deion Sanders, it seems like it would make all the sense in the world unless Jerry Jones with his ego just wouldn't want someone to take the spotlight.
Yeah. And I think it's more of a too many egos. I mean, Jerry has one. We all know it is. A lot of people always question if he's really more interested in building a great team or just the showmanship. Hell, I just watched him on Landman.
I was about to say, he did a phenomenal job on Landman, the finale, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the finale yet.
Oh, shoot. Maybe it was the next to the last episode. I'm sorry.
It was one where he was sitting there with Monty. And,
yeah, it must have been the next.
I'm not going to ruin it for y'all, too.
So, yes, he does die in the show, Jerry Jones. He's decapitated by an oil rig.
There you go. That tells you a lot right there.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Schottenheimer will be the guy for the Cowboys. And, Schottenheimer he's been around for a while. I think he was even at Georgia for a little while as offense coordinator.
Yeah.
Obviously, his dad, phenomenal coach.
Yeah, no.
But I don't know. It just doesn't do a lot for me.
No.
Moving on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you know they'll run the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Schottenheimers were known for. Next one, we got the Jaguars head coaching reviews. There's a ton of names.
That is a long list.
That is a long list. It's not as quite as lengthy as what the Bears had, but you want like the ad quips for it, or do you want me to just read off a few of them?
Oh yeah, just give me a few that you think are the serious contenders.
Okay, Steve Spagnuolo. You got Kellen Moore again. Robert Sahi, Todd Monken, Patrick Graham, Raiders defensive coordinator. Another interview has been rescheduled for that, as well as Robert Sahi. and you got Joe Brady and Brian Flores.
Oh, there's a lot of good names on there, actually.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of them are actually seriously considering it.
Well, there's the two that I will tell you which ones are second interviews have been scheduled is Robert Say, and then you have Patrick Graham from the Raiders. Which,
yeah, I mean, I haven't done a lot of deep digging on the Jaguars, but I have heard that Liam Cohen at first turned them down and now possibly is rethinking it. So I don't know, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, it says that he's returning to the Bucs.
Oh, okay. Well, that might have just recently came out, but yeah, that seemed like something that he kind of turned down. He probably saw how bad that situation was and said, no thanks. But there's actually some good names on that list. I think Todd Monken is a guy that I don't know if he's going to get that job, but he's somebody that I would be interested in. I think he's done a great job with the Ravens, former Georgia offensive coordinator. I mean, he's not a real young guy anymore, but I think I think he's a good candidate. They definitely need an offensive guy.
I think they need a defensive guy.
Yeah, you got defense.
Yeah,
well, I guess they need both.
Yeah, I mean, I went with Steve Spagnuolo. I mean,
Spags.
Go ahead and get the best one there is right now. What he was able to do with the Kansas City Chiefs defense the last couple of years, where you literally seen them transcend from a offensive team to a defensive team, should really be kind of key on that. But I went with Spags because
you think he would take that job
if he could. To take a quote from Bill Parcells, if he can get the groceries so he can cook the meal, then yes, I think he would. They need a defensive tackle more than anything. I mean, the teams run through him like shit through a goose, and it's you can't stop them. I mean, you got all that money invested into Trevor Lawrence, that whole offense. It's great offense. Just get you a good coordinator, bring him in, and then work on that defense.
Hey, Spags has never been a head coach, has he? Has he ever been a head coach in the NFL?
Detroit Lions, actually.
Was he really?
Yes, sir.
God, I feel like he's always just been a defensive coordinator.
So we got a couple more questions real quick. Well, Damon said his guess is the only reason why Deion didn't take the job interview because he didn't want Jerry Jones to screw up his son's career like he's doing with Dak. Fair point.
Possibility.
That's a fair point. And he said, as far as the Jags go, please get Monken. If they don't, I wouldn't mind keeping Thomas Brown. Oh, you mean for offensive coordinator for the Bears? Okay. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, I like Todd Monken a lot. I think they could do a lot worse than Todd Monken, but I don't know how many of those guys would take it. I mean, I know they would interview, but that Jags job, it just seems like a no-win situation.
No, not right now. I mean, you're coming in after Doug Peterson, so I mean, you'll look rosy regardless. Yeah. Next one up, the Raiders.
We'll have the same names on here.
Yeah. Well,
a couple of those guys are already gone.
Yeah, and well, it has Aaron Glenn and of course Ben Johnson are already gone. But Pete Carroll is one person they had interviewed. Vance Joseph, Spags, Ron Rivera, Todd Monken.
Ron Rivera.
Yeah, I know. he beat cancer twice, and now he's back for some.
He
more.
must just hate being at home.
Oh God, I would hate it. I mean, I'd be a consultant.
So I mean, I think Pete Carroll with the Raiders would be perfect. Oh God, yeah, I think that is just a no-brainer if they could get him in there. I mean, the guy has the pedigree. I mean, he's already coached at USC before, so that part of the country, even though they're not in Los Angeles anymore, but he just has, a lot of history in that area. I would just love Pete Carroll there. I think he could legitimize them pretty quick, kind of like the Broncos with Peyton.
Just clean it up real quick.
I mean, just a quick turnaround, already have them in playoff contention next year.
I went ahead and scrolled down to the Saints because I agree with you. Pete Carroll, yeah, he's up there in age. I believe he's 74 right now, but
he's a young 74 though.
Dude, he's in better shape than I am.
Right.
So, I mean,
all that gum chewing has really done him well.
Yeah, that jawline is just on fleek.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite coaches. I know a little controversy when he left USC, but when he was with Seattle, just one of those guys. It's like, how do you not root for him?
No, you have to. And when I saw the fact that they, dropped him, in fact, I actually had a question on Twitter what was his biggest accomplishment, winning the Super Bowl or giving Geno Smith the one Pro Bowl season he had?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. Super Bowl making Geno Smith relevant.
I still got Super Bowl, but yeah. That was a pretty big.
I mean, legendary accomplishment. All right, so the last one is the Saints before we take a quick break and dive into the playoffs. Saints, Joe Brady, Mike Kafka, who has a second interview scheduled, Cliff Kingsbury, Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, who has a second interview scheduled, Darren Rizzi, who is the interim head coach, and Anthony Wizard. Anthony Weaver from the Dolphins DC. Poof. I mean,
I like Kellen Moore on this list, and I like Joe Brady. Joe Brady, I don't know. I guess it just fits because he was LSU offense coordinator during that phenomenal 2019 season. So he's already a adopted son of the Bayou.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that'd be in all honesty, a strong push right there. So I actually have Joe Brady too.
I don't think I would give Kingsbury another chance this quickly after how it ended with the Cardinals. I know he's done a great job with Commanders and Jaden Daniels, but I like him as just an offensive coordinator. It seems like some guys just aren't meant to be the head guy, and I don't care for that one.
And like you were saying with the Cardinals, I mean, they would always shoot out of the gates like Seabiscuit. And then, they limped to the playoffs like he was headed to the glue factory. I mean, it was just unreasonable.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve another chance down the road. He's still a really young guy, but I just don't think he's
not right now.
Yeah, just not. Give him a couple more years with Jaden Daniels.
Let him burn that bridge.
Even he can't mess that up. I mean, Jaden Daniels is just gold right now.
All right, sweet. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick, 7-second break. And
time for that?
Yeah,
sometimes we agree with it, and sometimes we don't. This is buy or sell.
All right. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the class playoffs because we didn't really get a chance to. Someone had training.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, it is what it is. So Kansas City won 23-14 over the Texans. There's, of course, a lot of shit that happened with the refs in this game. You look at the stats, you look at the yardage, you look at all that good stuff. Texans, by far, did better than the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, they beat them in everything. Every single offensive stat there was, they were top dog, except penalties, where they doubled it up, and KC only had 4. Fairburn had struggled as their kicker. Dude, other than CJ Stroud getting sacked 8 times, what do you think? What do you think of this game?
I just think it's almost impossible to beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, especially in the playoffs. I mean, we all know the stories of the refs and what goes on there, but it's just, even when the Chiefs don't play well, Mahomes' offense just very mediocre. They still do enough the way they got after Stroud with 8 sacks. They still just make the plays when they have to. And I don't know, the Texans, I don't know if it's too many injuries or what. They just didn't have the same, just oomph on offense that they had the previous year. Stroud did play fairly well in this game. I like the fire that you saw from him, but he was just getting beat up so bad in that game. Barely even made it through the game. But yeah, like you said, they led almost all stats that matter. The 8 sacks is just a huge thing to me, and obviously the penalties being double what the Chiefs got. It just seems like the Chiefs, much like the Patriots during their run, just find a way to win. And that's what happened. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done once again.
They did. And I mean, there were a couple records that were set as far as this go. Kelsey got his 9th 100-yard receiving game in the postseason, which breaks Jerry Rice's record of 8, I believe.
Unbelievable.
And Patrick Mahomes now ties Joe Montana for second in playoff wins with 16.
That's unbelievable. considering how young he still is.
Mhm. And I think that I want to say Tom Brady has like 35, something like unreal. So I don't know if he's going to get to that, but we'll see. And this is another key stat about this is the Texans have not made it past the divisional round the 6 times they've actually made it. So, I can go on and harp about what the refs did and what they did not do. I mean, it felt a little dirty sometimes. And
did you think most of those calls were egregious or just kind of ticky-tack things that the Chiefs always get the benefit of the doubt?
I think they were more ticky-tack than anything because there was the 2 roughing the passer ones. I mean, I think those really were the tones, not the tone setters, but where it actually you could see where it was turning around. And I mean, both times it was on drives where they had 3rd and long, they would have lost the ball or got stopped, and then they got an instant first down. And it's frustrating when you watch it as I guess you would call us football purist, but I typically don't let my fandom influence a lot of stuff that I look at, but it's hard. It's hard as a coach of middle school players. It's hard as a fan and wanting to see fair sports. It just sucks. And I know that Michael Jordan got favorable calls. Tom Brady got favorable calls, but
they weren't like back-breaking calls like this.
Unless that it was that one sack
that
the Atlanta Falcons put on Brady a couple weeks ago or a couple years
ago.
ago.
I mean, with basketball, it's obviously a lot different because those calls they happen constantly throughout the game, and then calls like this when you have somebody stopped on 3rd and long, it's just completely just breaks your spirit almost.
Game changing.
Yeah. So I mean the Texans played well enough to win that game. It's a lot to overcome when you're playing in Kansas City against them and the refs. And
even the Texans have said that afterwards. They're like, we're playing against the refs.
Yeah. So I mean the Texans, to their credit, they played really well and they played hard. They just need to improve that offensive line. I mean, I think you see all the talent they have all over the place. Will Anderson, young guys. So they'll have, I guess Diggs is a free agent, but they'll have, I think, a better offense next year, hopefully more healthy. So they're going to be in it for the next several years.
Well, I think Diggs is also a free agent.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, CJ Stroud got sacked 52 times.
Yeah, the offensive line, I think, coming into the season was the one thing I felt like they didn't really address in the offseason. So they've got to fix that.
Yeah.
He's a franchise quarterback. You can't just let him just get pounded like this.
Like Debbie to get best Dallas. As soon as you said it, that was the first thing that popped in my head.
Debbie does Houston. Yeah.
Debbie does Houston. There you go. Well, the refs did Houston.
Yeah.
So Washington. Shock of this year. I went in Detroit and proceeded to just the game really just felt like it turned as soon as that strip sack of Goff by Dorrance Armstrong. It's just unreal what happened. Washington, of course, won 45-31. Jaden Daniels, the legend, continues. He is now I think it said 6th rookie quarterback or 3rd rookie quarterback. Anywhere, not many people have done it to advance this far in his rookie year. Washington just straight up out-physicaled them in a lot of ways. They ran the ball 42 times for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. Their time of possession was 33-59. They just basically just beat the Lions at their own game, who averaged the 2nd most time of possession in the league this past season. Goff, of course, we talked about a little bit about Jameis Williams and his interception, but Goff was responsible for 4 of the 5 Detroit turnovers. And it's kind of crazy when you have over 500 yards of total offense, but lose because of turnovers. And this was another time like when they barely beat the Texans. They lucked out. So what's your ideas on this?
Man, I mean, they just ran into a buzzsaw. I mean, Jaden Daniels was nearly perfect. And when you have turnovers like that, Detroit's defense just isn't good enough, to overcome all that and stop a prolific offense. I mean, the Commanders, we've seen glimpses of the Commanders this year scoring 40 points against other teams. I don't think they've ever scored 45. But when you're running stupid plays like the Jamison Williams, double reverse pass for interception, when you were already just gashing these guys, with your running game, it just makes no sense to me why you would get away from that. The quick passes to the outside were working, and they started taking more of these slow developing long shots where Goff was just sitting in the pocket for too long. It just didn't make sense to me that they just went away from what was working, great in the first quarter, which I feel like the Lions sometimes try to get too cute. They have so many weapons. They try to spread it around to all of them. They're not just content just to, chip down the field. They want to hit these big strikes, and it just, it doesn't work when your quarterback's throwing interceptions.
No, and I mean, that also brings up another question I'll ask you in a few seconds. And, Dan Campbell is the guy. I don't question that, but is Jared Goff the guy for them to take them to the promised land?
I thought he was, but his lack of mobility really showed in this game. I mean, he's one of the few, I think, really good pocket passers that are left. But he kind of played into Washington's hands, with the zone they were just dropping back into. And, they were getting pressure on him, which Detroit's offensive line usually doesn't give up this much pressure. So I think in this game, it just, not having any mobility, Goff, he was kind of a sitting duck. And he just, I think, started panicking sometimes. But, yeah, I don't know. I thought he was the guy, but after this game, I'm questioning that more.
And, I didn't see Justin put this, but, thank you for sticking with us. What's your thoughts on Goff in that game after he took the hit from Luvu?
Ooh, that was a filthy hit.
He didn't look like the same quarterback to me, and it was enough of a factor on his decision-making and play for the rest of that game.
Yeah, I mean, they did take him to the tent and did the concussion test, I believe, after that play, but he came right back in the game. Yeah, he didn't seem right after that, but he already wasn't playing great. But, yeah, it looked like a sure concussion to me. I'm not sure how, he passed those tests, but it's a playoff game, so that's probably how. I don't know, man. I mean, I didn't think it was a particularly filthy hit. That's what they used to teach you is go after the quarterback in those situations. But, still there was some head-to-head contact, so it wasn't good. But
if it was Patrick Mahomes, I guarantee they would have called it.
That's true. Yeah, I'm surprised that didn't get called.
If he would have farted in Patrick Mahomes' direction, he would call it.
Yeah, there was just a lot of chaos happening in that play, and they just missed it. But, yeah, I think it was deserving of a penalty, personally.
Yeah, and I think really his psyche kind of took a hit with the strip sack fumble that in the red zone. I think after that happened, that's when the wheels, I wouldn't say fell off, but they were definitely starting to loosen up there, because as soon as that happened and, you're getting behind and you feel that pressure start to build and everything. And one thing we've always talked about Jared Goff is how well can he handle pressure. And
yeah, when you see your defense just getting shredded like that, you're right. You put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect. And they did put up tons of yards. It's just it's hard to score every time you have the ball, and that's where they were in that game.
Yeah,
because Jaden Daniels just was not going to be stopped.
No. In fact, it begs the question: can he be stopped, or are they going in? But we'll talk about that a little bit, because their opponent, Philly, 28-22 over the Rams. I'm gonna be honest with you. Philly would not be where it is right now if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley at all. They would have probably not even made the playoffs. I'm just going ahead and say that, Eagles fan.
Hey, I was pushing for Barkley to be MVP weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, shit. He was my main reason why I did good in my works fantasy football league this year, and I didn't draft.
He won a lot of fantasy championships.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he got a ring somewhere. But looking at this game and everything, Stafford had a great game. 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. It really felt like Philly was about to blow this towards the end. It just really did feel that way. The Rams just stuck in there. Their defense came alive. I mean, they literally not saying that Philly has a great pass team, but they really shut them down. So Rams had 7 sacks on Hurts, and of course, Hurts is banged up for this upcoming game. What's up? What are you thinking?
I mean, I really enjoyed this game. I thought
was a
it was a
great game.
very even contest. I thought the whole thing turned on that Kyler Williams fumble, when the Rams kind of had the momentum.
Yeah.
And I think they were going down to score at least a field goal in that situation. But the game kind of turned after that, and the weather got so bad, that it was just difficult to do a lot through the air. I know Puka didn't have his usual, phenomenal performance. And, the Eagles, they just leaned on Barkley. They couldn't do much from the air. Hurts already was coming back from a concussion not too long ago, and then, injured in this game. So he was just gutting it out there. It just was a struggle for him. But, the big difference besides Barkley, to me, the big difference is this Eagles defense is so much better than they were last year. Jalen Carter, he's just a monster at defensive tackle. I think he had 2 sacks. And their defensive backfield is so much better.
Oh, dude, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they're set. They're setting the stand.
I don't think Mitchell played in this game. I think he was still hurt.
No, he played a little bit.
Did
he? Yeah, he wasn't out there that much, but he was out there enough.
Yeah. I mean, their defensive backfield so much better than last year when it was a train wreck. So at home in the bad weather, I was still really impressed with how the Rams played in that weather, considering they play
in a dome
in
California.
So yeah, I mean, credit to Sean McVay, the Rams. They've done so much more than I thought they would do this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with the next couple of years. They just got to figure out if they're looking for another quarterback or not.
Which is why I will go ahead and say that I've said this a few times on the other show I'm on, Cheesy Bear. Go ahead and start Tanner McKee. Dude can throw it down the field. Just go ahead and launch it. Throw him in there. He's good for it. Go ahead and just get the W with Tanner McKee. He'll be your Nick Foles for this year. Last game, and some feel like this was the AFC Championship, the Ravens versus the Bills. The Bills just basically the Ravens got put in a hole. They were down 21-10 going into halftime. Josh Allen was able to make the big play when it mattered. Lamar Jackson, unfortunately, wasn't. And there's a lot of speculation on, this is where I'm not really high on Monken, is because last year the run game was what got you into that AFC Championship game, but you refused to do it. This year you bring in a horse like Derrick Henry, and you only have him touch the ball 16 times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, what are you doing? Unfortunately for Mark Andrews, the 2 biggest moments of the game involved him not doing what he has done for the past 6 years, which is catch the ball or hold on to it in most cases. I think really and truthfully, when the fumble happened, I think that was almost as big of a play as dropping the ball, which was poorly thrown.
Still have to catch that ball, though.
It hit him in the hands twice.
Yeah, I mean, much like we talked about with the Texans and the Chiefs, the Ravens kind of dominated the stat sheet, except for the turnovers. I mean, it just, I don't know. I agree with you on the run game. They should have used Henry more, especially in that weather. I didn't think that Lamar played bad, but he didn't play phenomenal, and Josh Allen did. So, that's just the difference. In these home games, you just have to play almost perfect. When you're going up against somebody like Mahomes or Josh Allen, and they didn't play nearly perfect. They just, the big plays were there. They still had a chance to tie it and go to overtime. You just got to make the plays. And the last couple of years, the Ravens just haven't done that in the playoffs.
And, this was really, it felt like a legacy game for both Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I was about to say Josh Daniels, but Josh Allen. Because, when the lights are as brightest and everything like that, Lamar Jackson, he's doing, both of these quarterbacks have done great in the regular season. And the one qualm on them, of course, is that they keep running into Patrick Mahomes. Now, this game felt like it was the type of game like, okay, whoever wins, of course, goes to slay the dragon. And it really felt like, Josh Allen didn't have a great game. He really didn't. Lamar Jackson actually had a really good game other than the two turnovers. But it's all at the end of the day, you look at it, and you see what it is. Is Lamar Jackson like this era's Dan Marino in a way?
It kind of seems like it right now. I still think he has a chance to get there, but it's tough to overcome two just generational guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. It just seemed like the Ravens took a little bit of a step back on defense this year. And then obviously bringing in Derrick Henry turned out to be much, much better than I thought it would be. I just wonder if he has any juice to run it back another year. It will be 31, 32 next year.
I think he's younger than that. I think he's in his 20s.
Oh, no. Derrick Henry?
Oh, not Derrick Henry. I was thinking of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Derrick Henry. I just don't know if he has another year in him. But, he proved me wrong this year. So maybe. But they didn't have their number one wide receiver, right, in this game, Flowers?
No, they didn't. But Rashard Bateman actually went off. He really stepped up.
Yeah, he has had a good last month of the season. But I just think it's one of those games whenever you just – you got to make the plays when they're there, and they just didn't do it. I feel bad for Mark Andrews because he's a great player, and he's been just phenomenal in his career there, other than injuries. So for those two plays to kind of be on him, I know they're not going to say it's all on him, but it is kind of
it is all on you, Mark Andrews.
So you just got to suck it up, come back next year even stronger. But what else can you do?
He's going to be a free agent in 26.
I'd say see ya.
I'm a bigger fan of Isaiah Likely in a lot of ways, but that's just me.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think he's the blocker Andrews is, but
No.
you're not going to keep both guys.
No.
So, yeah, I think Andrews, he kind of probably burned that bridge to the big contract extension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. So that will actually pull us into the last little part of this show where we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming game. And the first game we'll talk about, because we're already on the AFC side, we'll talk about the Bills versus the Chiefs/refs. Who do you have?
Man, I want the Bills to win this game so bad. But yeah, I still feel like going to Kansas City, that defense they have is just so good. I don't know. I can't see the Bills winning this game. I wish I could, but if I was betting on it, I'd still bet on the Chiefs just because who they are, that Ric Flair mentality. You got to beat the man to be the man.
You got to beat the man.
And Josh Allen, if anybody's going to take down Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen is that guy, but I don't think they can do it at KC.
And I 100% agree with you because the Mahomes magic is when it happens at postseason time. Cool fact that I found out while I was looking at stuff today is that Josh Allen has beaten Patrick Mahomes 4 times in the regular season. Didn't even realize that much.
I knew he beat him a couple of times.
Yeah, I didn't realize 4 times. But in the playoffs, he's 0-3. So
yeah, it's a different animal when you're in the playoffs. Completely different. But I don't know. The Bills, they seem to have some magic this year. I think we talked about a couple times this season. I thought their window was closed, and they've overcome losing a lot of firepower on offense and defense. Josh Allen has just kind of put it all on his back, and it's been fun to watch.
And the Amari Cooper pickup, that just spoke volumes.
Yeah.
That kind of really, in some ways, kind of saved their season. In my personal opinion, because he's a top-notch player.
Yeah. It's worked out pretty well for him. I don't think he's been, some stud or anything, but it's definitely an upgrade over what they had after you lose Diggs.
Yeah.
So
who would you?
I'll be pulling for him.
Would you bring Coop back if you're the Bills, or would you just test free agency?
I'm sure it depends on the money. I think Coleman will probably grow his second year. I don't know. It depends on the money. I'm not giving Cooper a big, contract or anything. Maybe like a 1 or 2 year deal if the money's right.
Prove it.
Because he's getting up there too, and he's got to be close to 30.
He is definitely in his 30s.
I feel like he's been in the league forever.
Yeah, he's got a walker. He's about to qualify for AARP. Last game and last talk. Eagles, Commanders. This game is going to be a lot closer than what I thought originally when I first was reading up on this, especially with Jalen Hurts being hurt, which is why you need to go back and start Tanner McKee.
You think they would even consider that though?
No, they won't, because Jalen Hurts is going to be like, no, I'm fine. My knee's good. Even though it felt very RG3-ish in some ways, that he was taking the beating like that. Nice mic,
Oh,
bro.
sorry about that.
You're good.
Drop the phone.
Yeah.
Apologize.
Yep. So yeah, we're so broke we use our phones for video.
I'm just saving money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, they're still 6-point favorite even with the injury. The way Jaden Daniels has been playing, though, I feel like this is more of a toss-up to me.
I think it's more of a toss-up too.
I think a huge part of Jalen Hurts' game is his legs, and if you take that away, even if he's just like 75% of his normal self, I think that just makes this game so much closer.
Well, I mean, you look at the one touchdown he had. I mean, it was a 44-yard touchdown run. I mean, that's his deal. He's an Anthony Richardson, but good.
Well, that was before the injury, right?
Yeah, that was before the injury.
Yeah. So
after that injury, he really didn't do shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The Commanders are just such a feel-good story right now. I just want to hop on that train. That my Lions are gone. I've never been a fan of the Eagles. I mean, I respect everything about Saquon Barkley and the franchise.
Saquon, though.
But I don't know. I was always a big Redskins guy when I was growing up. So yeah, I'm gonna ride with Commanders. And it's a lot for a rookie quarterback. As good as Jaden Daniels is, he's still a rookie, and you're going into a hostile environment. So
yeah, Philly.
I haven't looked at the forecast.
When they made the comeback in week 16, were they in Washington or were they in Philly?
I was thinking Washington, but I'd have to look that up.
Is that it right there? The schedule?
Oh yeah, it is. Sorry, give me a second. I'll unfold this thing. So we have Washington, Philly. That was at home.
Oh, so it was at Washington.
It was at Philly.
It was at Philly.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shit. There you go. That's definitely a horse of a different color right there. I was sitting there thinking like they played in Washington when they beat them.
I was too.
Oh, so what are you thinking now? I mean, you're looking at a team that has their star quarterback injured. That looks like he's limping all over the place, and then you got. Oof.
I don't know. Even before the injury, it just didn't seem like the chemistry has been great between Hurts and his wide receivers lately.
AJ Brown, I don't understand how he dropped that one pass. Like he came down, and it feels like when he caught that ball and you saw him falling back, it was very Mark Andrew-esque in some ways, to where he just bobbled it on the way out. And yeah.
I mean, he's reading that book a lot, but he's not catching a lot of passes. So the win over Philadelphia was in Washington. I apologize. I mean, obviously they play twice a year. So the win over them in December, that was in Washington. So yeah, I still think it's going to be a monumental task to win this game at Philadelphia, in the cold.
In the link.
But I'm going to ride with the Commanders. I just feel like Jaden Daniels is playing so well right now. I can't go against him.
You're kind of talking me into it.
Well, don't let me talk you into it. I might lose you some money if you put money on it.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and, just for the sake of this show, we're going to go Eagles on this side. I'm even wearing green. So,
and plus Kenny Pickett played most of that game and the victory. So there is that.
That's why you need to just put Tanner McKee in. Your problem is that you put fucking Kenny Pickett.
But can they stop Saquon? Can they slow down Saquon Barkley is the question.
And that's the big question. You look at what Gibbs was doing to him.
Gibbs was
just ripping them apart. And Gibbs is amazing, but he's a notch below Saquon Barkley. And you look at what can. I'm going to go with Eagles, because the Washington, their rush defense is 30th.
Yeah,
so
not very good. Yeah, you're probably right. I feel like Commanders just the hot team right now, so I'm just gonna stick with them.
I realize every day that I wish my Bears would have went with Jaden Daniels. This is what I called. So,
well, I mean,
at
least there's some potential in Caleb Williams. It's not like he's what's his name?
Levis.
Levis.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the kicker.
I was gonna say Will Lutz, kicker for Broncos.
Yeah, he's not Will Levis, so
Yeah,
I mean,
no, Will
there is some
Levis,
potential there.
Surrender Cobra.
Yeah, Jane Daniels. I mean, he looks like as long as he doesn't get injured, knock on wood, he's going to be one of those generational quarterbacks too, like Mahomes and Josh Allen.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that pretty much does it for this episode. By all means, check out Shady Network. They are the ones that are hosting us, being able to actually provide this for you. Also, you can find us on Spotify. Look around for the newest looking tag. I gotta figure out how to take out the old ones. But if you can't watch us, let's just grab your ear. Just give us a little listen, and
just try us one time.
Just one time, you'll love it. And anyway, you have a great night. I'm Ed.
Not everybody.
And that is Seth.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.